I am starting. I am starting the recording. Sorry for the delay. We're going to get started. We're going to launch right into it. The purpose of this is to have a panel with a group of international students currently studying in the Oregon MBA program. It's not so much to sell the Oregon MBA as to provide you with some a useful forum for you to sort of hear some feedback from students who actually have gone through the process that you're hoping to go through, or to provide you with good research information. But before I get started, I'll just tell you a little bit briefly, like 30 seconds about us. The Oregon MBA is fairly unique in that we offer the opportunity to not just take your general MBA coursework, but to go further into specializing within a specific industry. The 4 different specializations that we offer that are coordinated through the 4 different centers are sports business, of course, which we're very well known for, sustainable business practices, finance and securities analysis, and innovation and entrepreneurship. If actually, I didn't even ask you beforehand, but if anybody in the webinar is interested in maybe talking to one of you further, is it okay if I shared your email with them? Okay,
yeah, of course.
Appreciate it. So let's just launch right into it. If you would sort of starting with Amanda and going all the way down to Josh, introduce yourselves, and in your summary of yourself, if you could just tell us where you came from, what you did, what you're currently specializing in, and what you hope to do.
Okay. My name is Amanda, and I'm from China, second year MBA in the finance track. So before joining this program, I used to work for Caterpillar in China for a few years, and I decided to do a career change, which is why I joined this program. It has been going pretty well for me, and my interest will be working in the wealth management and commercial banking.
I'm Jorge. I'm from Mexico City. Before this, I was working with 2 of the biggest websites and broadcasters, sports broadcasters in Mexico, and I was in sales. Basically, I came here to change to the apparel industry, which in the path of the MBA, I realized that I wanted to go back to media, but more in the content acquisition and more in a more financial way. So I'm working hard in it and hope to get back soon after I graduate.
Hi guys, my name is Brooke Halverson and I'm from Vancouver, BC, Canada. I'm a first year in the Warsaw Sports Business program. Before this, I was working at the Lululemon head office in Vancouver, and I came here to gain a little bit more expertise in the field.
My name is Jose. I'm from Spain. I'm a second year sports marketing student. I used to work on Youth Academy, and now want to switch to talent management in soccer.
My name is Josh Pandian. I'm a second year, also Warsaw Sports Business candidate. So before I was here, I ran one of my own soccer academies in India for about a year, and before that, I worked just in a marketing position at an outsourcing company. So it's definitely sort of a career change, but then I've had some experience in this field before coming here. With this, I look to eventually move into some sort of agency work on the partnership side, creating content.
Thank you. When I ask these questions, feel free for anybody to dive in, and if everybody wants to answer, that's totally fine. Real quick curiosity question: is it tough to make the transition to saying soccer instead of football?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to like consciously think about it every time.
Yes, but not after you go. So we went to the MLS now in New York, and I feel like they're very proud of the word soccer. Like it's like it makes the sport very American.
That's true.
And that's like the uniqueness of the sport.
Interesting.
Here in the U.S. So before that, I used to be like, no, like football, like global football,
Yeah.
or world football. But
Yeah.
after
Sport
that,
that
it's
actually
like,
you
yeah,
use your
actually,
foot.
yeah, exactly. But after that, it's like, yeah, soccer makes sense to make it more authentic for the U.S.
Awesome. All right, that wasn't part of the official questions, but the first question I had was, some of you already answered this, but do you plan on continuing to try to work in the U.S., or do you plan on going home to your home country? Like, what are your plans afterwards? Or do you want to work a little bit in the U.S. or go back, or?
Yeah, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, but my plan is to stay in the U.S. and work. I do mostly because with the sports business track in general, going back to India, there's not really a scope of getting a specialized position there yet. It's developing, but it wouldn't really make sense to go back home right now. So yeah, ideally I'd stay here for a bit, but that looks like it could be kind of sketchy in the next year or so. So maybe Europe, but yeah, if I can, I'd like to stay here.
I was already working in the US before I started the MBA. And yes, I would still like to stay at least for the year that I have on my visa. But with Josh and I, we were talking now before, it's getting complicated. So we open all the doors like Asia or go back to Europe. But yeah,
Asia. Okay.
Like Jose said, we get a year extension after we finish studying on our F1 visa, so we can work for a year without having to apply for a new visa. So it's my plan to stay here and try and work for that year and maybe extend, but we'll see what happens.
This, by the way, is totally random, but I just found out that we're offering a concurrent MBA slash MSF, Master of Science in Finance, that offers 3-year OPT after you graduate from the program.
nice.
Which that's pretty unusual. That's pretty cool though. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, don't worry. I am trying to stay in the U.S. I believe that the market here, I can bring a lot of value to these markets, especially being from a neighbor country and the big Hispanic population in the U.S. But I'm applying all over the place. I'm honestly, I would like to stay here because I like the culture, and the culture is very similar to the Mexican culture. But I'm still applying to positions. We have alumni in Sweden, and I'm talking to her about some positions on the video game industry. I'm applying to Germany. We just went to China, and I was impressed with everything that I saw there. So I'm applying to some brands in there. I'm also applying something back in Mexico, back in Latin America.
wow, all over.
Yeah, literally all over.
What
But
about
I
Canada?
feel
It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
I would love the headquarters of EA Sports are in Canada, and I would love to go there. But I think 80% of the applications, because of the network that we have in the Oregon MBA, I'm leveraging more that network. Like 80% my applications are in the US.
Okay.
So last week I just changed my degree to the concurrent MBA of the MSF. So I can.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ah.
So I can talk a little bit more about MSF, which is the Master in Science of Finance. So that qualifies for STEM, which will give the international students 3 years of OPT when you graduate, which is why.
That's like a full chunk of your career right there.
Yeah. So I think most people
Anybody?
for their
Finance?
first job, they
Sports.
probably just work for 3 years, and then we will change jobs. So I think in 3 years will be enough for the employer to hire you and then give you a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, they'd be more likely to hire you at that point
Yeah.
with that
So,
kind of
yeah.
ability to be able to stay.
Can we know where they are from and like what center they're interested in?
We can ask. Sometimes people want to sort of stay shy, and sometimes people dive right in. So I'll just open it up and ask. If you don't feel like unmuting yourself, you can feel free to type it in. Just a sort of a show of hands. Who is from where? Mind us asking? Takes a little while. UK. Nice. I did my master's in the UK, so
I live in England for 4 years.
for 4 years.
Go save the Queen.
Anybody else? Vancouver. Hey.
Yeah, go Wildcat against Tigres.
Oh, and another person from Canada. Okay. Anyway, I got 2 Canadian. I told you they were Canadian. The Canadian contingency showed up.
I know the rock star.
Canadian crew.
But I know there were a lot of people that were signed up that didn't tune in that were from. There were quite a few from India. There was one from Australia,
Nice.
Vietnam, China.
We got one from China.
China. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Hey, that's good to know. So actually, this kind of something Jorge said really tied into one of my later questions, but I think I'll just ask it now, which is, what kind of opportunities have been available for networking, and what have you done so far to actively network while you're in the program?
I feel like everything when you're working, like you have to like put a lot of your effort to network. But I feel like what the university does is they open you the doors to connect with different type of alumni. Just open you the doors to like say that you are an Oregon MBA student or in my case a Warsaw student, to connect with people more easily. So I feel like you have to make an effort to connect, and as I always say and as I always think, to bring value to someone. But the university helps you to connect with those people, and I feel like, especially in the sports business, that you need to network and you need to know as many people as you can. The university has been very helpful.
Yeah, to build off of that, specifically with Warsaw, we go on a lot of trips and we talk to a whole bunch of alumni in all different kinds of areas of the industry. Every week someone comes to our seminar on Thursdays that we can interact with, and we have a whole database of alumni, and everyone's been super helpful reaching out for informational interviews or just chatting about what their kind of day-to-day looks like in their job. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, to add on that, nobody will do it for you, like Jorge said, but you have all the access to pretty much anyone you want. So you want to talk to someone in media, you will find. And someone in gaming, sports, soccer, it doesn't matter. You ask around, someone will help you. Faculty, students.
You don't ever stop networking in your career, do you?
No. And also, like, during this time in the MBA program is probably time that people will take you, or like give you the most time when you're networking, because you leverage the fact that you're a student,
right?
And people will actually give you the time of day. But once those 2 years are done, like, people don't really pay attention to you as much because you're a professional. There's like all, I don't know, I mean, there's all
can't
these
play the
issues.
student card.
Yeah, you can't play the student card. So as long as you're in this program and with the wealth of resources we have, like, it's not hard to leverage. Like, once you get started, you realize that people are actually very willing to help you.
Plus, use that card of being a student not because you want them to help you, because it's actually what you should looking for now. I want to learn. And for me, 15 minutes conversation with someone big in the industry teach me more than any hour class.
And during the last term of first year, you will join a mentorship program, and then the Career Center will help you connect to a mentor. They have a pool of mentors that you can choose from, and before that, you can read their bios, and then if you think you will connect to anyone, then you can ask the Career Center to help you connect to this person, and then this person will be your mentor during the second year, and then you can decide to meet on a weekly basis or monthly basis, and this person will talk not only about school but also life, support you in any way he or she can.
Excellent. You're hired. What kind of important factors were you looking for when you were researching an MBA program?
I'm a bad person to ask because it was just sports business.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things. I started when I wanted to do an MBA. So my brother is a Georgetown MBA. So my family wanted me to go to Georgetown, but I didn't want to be like a regular finance, like investment banking work. So I mean, that's amazing. But I had
somebody that actually makes a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
I didn't want to be that. I wanted to work in the sports business industry, and like back in my work, like I felt like I always have liked sports, but back in my work, I felt like I did better when I was working with projects related to sports. So I understood that I could make good money out of doing sports for my career, and I feel like that was one of the most important things.
Makes sense.
I can build off my answer if you want.
I'd love to hear you build off of it.
I also was really drawn to the fact that it's a smaller program and that we could specialize. I feel like everyone is super supportive, and there isn't like such a cutthroat environment that I would imagine to the top schools.
Collaborative.
Yeah, it's way more collaborative.
Yeah.
And all the experiential learning trips too are just some of the best times I've had.
When I look for options, I also look at the location of the school. So I'm from a metro city in China, so I'm kind of tired of that environment.
What city?
A metro city, the huge city.
Yeah.
So when I look for schools here, I think Eugene is a very typical college town, so it's very easy to drive around, and then the cost of living is much lower than those big cities. So I think that's also a factor that I would like to consider.
Unless you're using Canadian dollars, in which case it seems very expensive.
The trick is just to not think about the conversion. Just don't think about it. Put it out of your mind in your everyday life, or you will be sad.
That really segues nicely into my next question, which is moving to Eugene. What has been, and feel free to be completely honest, because this is part of, I'm a firm believer within admissions that half of your decision of what school to attend comes down to whether you're happy living there as well. So feel free to be open and honest. What has been your experience moving to Eugene? Have there been any good surprises, bad surprises?
I can start. Yeah, I mean, like, moving here, like, the summer before, I didn't actually come have a chance to visit Eugene like after I got accepted or like during that time. So the summer before coming here, I was in touch with a few people here, kind of put me in the right direction of like what type of housing to look for. But a lot of the housing around campus is kind of owned by the same group. I think it's called Campus Town. So they have, I don't know, they're, at least with us, like their move-in policies aren't great where we get into town and we can't actually move in till like 2 weeks later.
Oh, that's rough.
So I spent most of orientation in a motel with all my stuff. So I mean that's not the case for everyone, but that I didn't realize like how much of a hassle it could have been until I got here. So I mean, if you plan well, like I think it's gonna be okay. But if you kind of just show up like I did, might be a problem.
So what would you advise them? What would you tell yourself to do?
So I would say instead of like, so I kind of just went with one of the first suggestions I got about housing. So I would take time to actually look into housing options outside of the major like licensed campus providers. So like it might take some time, but like you should actually look into it more than just some of the bigger ones because they have very stringent policies on when you can move in, what type of stuff you can have in the house. I don't know, like it's just yeah, like some of our parking stuff was really bad too. Just we had like our parking passes reserved, but then they got overbooked, so I lost my spot.
Dang.
So there was some weird stuff, but
Just bring a bicycle.
yeah, don't worry about a car.
What else?
In terms of actually living here, so I'm used to a big city too, living downtown Vancouver.
Vancouver's awesome.
Yeah, so it's obviously very different than that, but I've moved myself a lot of different places, like alone, and I think here has been an easier transition because you have that support system coming in. So there's 50 other like students in your cohort and you're all going through the same thing. You all uprooted your life and moved here together. So
As adults.
yeah, and so you kind of have like a friend group right away.
Freshmen all over again.
And you're so busy that you almost don't even get a chance to think about living in Eugene.
True.
That's been my experience so far.
And I feel like an advice on what Josh was saying is speak with alumni, speak with current alums, and I feel like that I would have liked to do that because the place where I lived the first time, it was amazing. It was super quiet and it was really great, but it was far away from campus. So if you want to really like have everything together, I feel like speaking with people that has experience 1 or 2 years in Eugene would be the best thing. What I like about Eugene is like Eugene made me a runner, so I'm very proud of that. I'm going to run after this actually.
Nice.
To Priest Trail.
Priest Trail.
6 miles today.
Sawdust. Feels like twice the run.
Yeah.
It's like it's running against you, it feels like.
For me, to build on what Jorge said, the University of Oregon put me in touch with another Spaniard that just graduated.
Oh, that's cool.
Easy, second year when I started. So he makes everything easier for me in terms of like advice or something like that. So my advice for everyone who wants to apply is to connect with you guys.
Yeah.
They will put you in touch with first years, and then you can start building on that. And as a good surprise, everybody in Eugene is extra nice, like super.
Like weirdly nice.
Weirdly nice, which is great.
I'm used to it.
That's true. Pacific Northwest still counts.
One thing I didn't expect when I got here is that Eugene rains a lot. So I kind of knew this before I came, but still it surprised me a little bit, especially during the winter. It could be days that you can
rains
see
a lot,
the
yeah.
sun. But summer is great. Summer is definitely a great time here. And then, so I think kind of balance out.
It's just try to find an internship in Eugene because otherwise you leave and you miss the best part of Oregon, which is the summer.
It's easy to find internship in Portland, which is 2-hour drive
That's
from
true.
Eugene, and then
We call it liquid sunshine.
yeah. So I live in Portland during the summer. It was awesome.
So this is sort of more of a the next ones are kind of more of a nuts and bolts question. How much time do I have? I've only got a few minutes. I want to leave some time open for questions, but how important was work experience prior to coming into an MBA program? How has it been valuable, necessary, not necessary?
Very important and necessary.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do you mean with like how we contribute in class and stuff, or like?
No, I mean like having worked had a career basically prior to starting the MBA program, like you starting your own academy.
Right.
Does that help us get in, or does that help us when we're here?
Yeah.
Not get in. I mean, in terms of your coursework, the actual
Okay.
class, like context for having to real life experience
So-
for contextual.
So I think at least for me it helps a little bit, but for majority of us coming in here, I think we're career switching. So yeah, there's like some insights you can get into like corporate culture, like where we might have worked before, but overall we're all learning. For the most part, we're learning a lot of new things.
Right.
So yeah, we could bring it in a little bit, but maybe just like some of the more management type stuff. But when we're specialized in our different tracks, I think we do more learning here, and it's more based on what we do while we're here than kind of taking on experiences from before. At least with me.
I think it depends on what kind of previous job experience you had, and then what courses you are having right now. For me, because I used to work for the manufacturing industry, so when I took a class from like Ash, operational management or supply chain, I definitely, when he mentioned some keywords like Six Sigma or Lean system, kind of, I totally
No idea
knew
what
what
that
he was talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody else?
Yeah, for me, right now in the job search, for me, it has been like super important to have that experience because your resume opens the door. The contacts that you made before you work can also open doors. So for me, it has been super important, and I like that I had that experience before.
So I have a bit of a different experience. I was an athlete after I graduated my undergrad, and then I only worked for about a year before coming. And I thought it would be a disadvantage. And
You were a professional athlete?
Yeah, sort of.
In
I
what?
played volleyball for Team Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I thought I would be at a disadvantage with my classmates. They all had more work experience than I had, but it's been fine in classes, and my resume is not as stacked as theirs, but I'm hoping to like gain that experience through projects and through my internship this summer, so I feel like I fit in.
I feel like having played for Team Canada is kind of like a job as well, though.
It wasn't a corporate job.
Right. Still work.
Yes, it was a lot of work.
For me, it was super helpful because I used to work in soccer. I'm going to continue working in soccer, even though these guys call me one trick pony. It's true. I use that for when I have flexibility to choose a project for a class. I probably link it to something soccer related, and Warsaw plus my own contacts help me to choose the right project. So it's helpful.
Cool. Excellent. Were there any challenges or snafus when you were going through the visa process? What was that like?
That was actually not bad this time around.
Okay.
Like, I didn't really have too much of a problem. Like, I mean, just kind of followed the guidelines and then got all my documents in.
Who helped you? Oh, not the person. Like, it was basically you sought admission first, and then.
Yeah. And then I reached back out to the University of Oregon. I think it was through the admissions.
Gotcha.
And then they kind of just sort of ran me through what I needed to do. It's actually not new to me since I did my undergrad here as well.
Right.
So the process is pretty much similar, and I kind of had an idea of what to do. So as long as you get all of like your paperwork in, like it's not difficult.
They make it super easy. I think
Yeah.
it's International Student Services. They send you a packet, and there's literally a checklist like get this, and this in, and
Nice.
you'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, it was exactly the same as a tourist visa. Like I feel like it was the same process. Like not challenging, super easy.
Nice. Good.
I had the tourist visa before I got the student visa. So only difference is that added the I-20 form to the package you have, and then go to the interview, and that's it.
Perfect.
I had a working visa before the student visa.
Right.
And it's way easier to get a student visa than a working one. So
Good.
Also, I guess it depends on like what country you're applying, like what country you're from and where you're applying. Like for me, when I had to go, like the paperwork and everything was easy, but then I was applying to the U.S. Embassy in India where there's on any given day like 600 people trying to get in, so it takes like all day,
Wow.
and then everyone who works there is just not in the
Just
greatest
ground
mood.
down.
Yeah, so you have to be like that process, like that interview process is a little nerve wracking, but like the actual, just because you don't know who you're going to be up against. Like if you're like qualified, it doesn't matter. But like if they're having a bad day, they might not be having a great, But
That's
like
nice.
other than that, like everything was fine. But like that's something you should consider, like going in to the actual interview process. Like I know there's some people from China. I feel like it'll probably be similar at the U.S. Embassy in like Shanghai or Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be in the right mindset.
Just
when
be
you go
prepared
in.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My last question that I'll close with is just sort of if a younger you was on the other side of that screen and listening to this, what advice would you give to yourself? I know it's a weird question, but basically the idea being is like for a prospective student that's thinking about an MBA or researching MBA or interested in this MBA, and this was basically, what would you love to have heard?
So for me, like even before we got here, and then even with me applying to other programs, I kind of had it like drilled into my mind about how important networking is. Like the moment you get here, like you need to start. But I think my advice to my younger self would be is to kind of take time to start getting into the courses first and like learning more about the industries that I'm interested in or the areas that I'm interested in before reaching out to actual industry experts. Because when I got here, that first thing everyone told me was like, you got to start networking now. You know, it's important to your process. And then my like second year mentor then, James Stewart, told me to like take my time a little bit and then just kind of become more well versed with what I want to do and what the program offers, so that you have something positive to say in these interviews, and it's not just you it's being one-sided and you're kind of just listening and you're just networking for the sake of networking.
Right.
So
that
have
a good balance. Of
both.
both.
Yeah. So just you need to be able to bring something to the table too. So and I just like wouldn't sweat that process like when you first get here.
Okay. Good advice.
I used to work a few years before joining this program, so it kind of is a lifestyle switch for me. So before that, I was used to a life that you work for 8 hours and you went back home, you don't do work at all. And now it's you jump between classrooms, and then you, especially the first term, you got lots of teamwork. You have to have endless meeting with your cohort, and then when I went back home, I still have to do my homework. So be prepared for this kind of
quite a change. So getting a job after this is going to feel like a vacation.
Well, it depends on what
8 to
kind
5?
of job.
Fantastic.
If it's an investment banking job,
Probably not.
No, you
Right.
don't have time to rest.
That's right. Anybody else? Any advice for yourself?
I don't really have any advice. I just think if you're thinking about it and you've been thinking about it for a long time, you should just take the leap.
You know, Jorge said something that prior to us starting about the GMAT that I thought he was talking about how just what a massive obstacle the GMAT represented and how hard it was going into it. Would you have any advice regarding that? Like how to approach it? Is it as big of an obstacle, or is it just something you need to check off and move on with your life?
I believe it's like pretty much like corporate finance class, like those type of obstacles that when you overcome them, you feel super proud about it. Like you feel, oh my god, I did the GMAT and I had like a good score. That's amazing. So I feel like it's totally worth it. Just work hard on it and
take it and move on with your life.
Yeah, take it and move on and be proud that you took it. I feel like it's something like everybody says that getting an MBA is very hard, and it is very hard because you have to like start with the GMAT, you have to move away from your hometown, you have to like leave your job and become a student again.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's totally worth it. I mean, it's an investment that is worth it, and that's why not a lot of people do it. And the few of us that take that leap, I feel like it's gonna pay off in the short, medium, or long run.
I would suggest making an account with Kaplan as well, because they give you, I think it's four or five free full-length GMAT tests that you can take online. Yeah.
And I feel like the extra one is like $30. So
yeah,
it's like not bad.
So like that, those are very helpful. And then also probably pick up the Kaplan book or one of the other similar ones, just because they have huge question banks in the back, and every year they update them. So I mean, if you're planning on, I took some classes while I was in my 1 year when I was in India running that academy. Like I actually went, but like in India, like that's the culture is such where those classes are very readily available and not very expensive. Here, the U.S. and I'm assuming probably Canada too, they're pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always an option. Like it really helped me, and just having that Kaplan account and having those extra 5 tests was pretty nice too.
I actually took a course too.
Yeah.
I was kind of floundering trying to study on my own, and I think I lucked into a really awesome professor, and it was a night class 2 times a week for like 4 weeks, but he was able to give us a bunch of tips and tricks to cut down on your like timing, and it saved me a lot of time just kind of following his study guide. So.
For sure.
For me, it was the same. I was working here and I took a couple of night classes during 3 months to prepare myself for the MBA, and I did the 4 or 5 tests at Kaplan, and that gives you pretty much an idea where you're gonna be on the test.
Which did you take TOEFL or IELTS? TOEFL.
Yeah, IBT.
What does that mean?
It's
Yeah,
you.
version.
You graduated from a Canadian school. You didn't
It's
have
for
to take the
people
English
who's
proficiency exam.
English is not
Alright.
so good.
Oh, TOEFL is
You're good.
like the English test.
Gotcha.
Was that as hard a preparation? As
Oh
you-
no, like
No.
taking the TOEFL after taking the GMAT is
Yeah.
like
I didn't
so
even do
easy.
anything for the TOEFL. I just went in.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. Wonder if I'm passing.
Yeah, I didn't even prepare. I didn't even prepare for the TOEFL, and I got like 95%
The language part
or
of the
more.
GMAT is harder than the top, by far.
Okay, good to know. All right, I am going to leave it open for questions now. We have how many people? And I know I've gone a little bit over, but we started a little late. I apologize. But for those that are here, I am going to unmute you. I'm unmuting all of you, but I see that you've muted yourself, and that's fine. But feel free to either type in your question or unmute your microphone and ask a question. No need to be shy. We're all friends here. So feel free to launch in with any questions you might have. And wait. Kaplan spelled with a K, right?
Yeah.
I did that. I did the jury. I didn't really study much for it though. I just took it.
But I feel like
The jury's not
the math
adaptive
for the
though, right?
GRE is like way
Is it?
easier.
It is,
Yeah,
but it adapts each 30-minute section as opposed to each single question.
Question, okay.
Which, like, that just stressed me out.
Horrendous, yeah.
Like, I
If you
don't want that much of
If you
that.
get like the first couple wrong, you're already on like that negative.
Yeah,
path.
but it makes
So
like at least the next one's gonna be super
But
easy.
then it's easy, and then you're like, it's hard, man. I don't like this. It's easy. I got like 4 wrong.
I do not think that any test is fun, but if you ever go to the Mensa website, they have a test that's like it's a test to see whether you gain admittance to Mensa, which is like this IQ club. It's actually a really fun test.
Nice.
Okay, any questions? I'm going to leave it 30 more seconds for you to be able to ask a question. Anything at all.
Don't be shy.
Come on.
Crickets.
We just covered everything I wanted to hear.
That's true. Sometimes that happens. Okay, I am going to go ahead and close. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any questions after the fact, if you think of something later, feel free to email me. I've been in touch with most of you, but if you don't have my email address, I'll type it in here. patrickf@uoregon.edu. And all of our panelists have been kind enough to offer their own email addresses. If you'd like to speak to one in particular, I'd be happy to put you in touch. Thank you again for coming, and it was great having you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hi guys.